Welcome to the Dr. Wayne Dyer Radio Podcast. Discover the wisdom and remarkable insights of Dr. Dyer, world-renowned spiritual teacher and foremost authority on how the power of your mind creates your world.
Yesterday, I spent the entire day reading Anita Moorjani's book because I'm writing the foreword for it. So I spent about 7 or 8 hours yesterday just reading. I read every word of it and sat down last night, meditated, and then wrote the foreword.
So what did you think of the book?
I thought a lot of it, and I thought a lot about it, and it's hard not to think about it. And it's very interesting because she talks about when she was in this coma state. She was in a state for 24 hours. This is a woman, for those of you who haven't heard me talk about her, who had cancer throughout her entire body for 4 years, and she was just wasting away, and she just was living in a wheelchair with oxygen coming out, and was just she had been given 24 to 36 hours to live. Her organs were all shutting down, and she went into this coma state and literally died. Her heart was still beating, but nothing else was working, and she had an experience of being told that she could come back into this body and heal it, and she had already seen that. She could see into the future and so on. So her book is about what she learned in that state and what and she came back, and within a few months she was pretty much cancer free. And today she's totally. That was in 2006. Today she's totally cancer free, and I had read about her and encouraged her to write a book. Called the publishers at Hay House right away and said, I really want to have this woman as a Hay House author. She's got a great message to teach us about love and about overcoming fear and so on, and also overcoming our fear of death, because for her it was one of the most blissful, peaceful experiences of her life. But what she said in there, one of the things that she said, and there were many things that she said, and I wrote a pretty nice foreword for her last night, is that when she came back from this and she began to heal and she went outside for the first time. She hadn't been outside because she'd just been locked up in a room with all of this lymphoma throughout her entire body. The first time that she went outside, that the world looked different. That she would see a bush, a flower or whatever, and it would almost be like luminescent. It would and there was a sort of a clarity of vision that she had, and it's very. So I just remembered her saying that about the trees and about the birds and about everything. Everything just seemed to be more. She was seeing with a capital S, just like it was not just seeing it with her eyes, but like really experiencing it, everything in nature particularly. And so I just noted that as I was reading it. And then this morning, I always get a massage before this show, because the show's on here at 10 o'clock in the morning, but at 7:30 every Monday morning, I have a 2-hour massage. And I want to walk over to get this massage. I walked outside today, and I don't know whether it was just reading that book or writing the foreword to it or feeling such a part of it, but everything just looked luminescent to me. I mean, the all of the vegetation and flora around this where I live here on Maui, where my office is, I never noticed it like I did this morning. And every flower that I looked at, and the trees looked different, and the ocean looked different, the sky looked different. Everything just looked. I'm even looking out the window now, and the greens just look greener, and I can that was. I don't know whether I have just whether I'm just had a sort of a mental reminder to do this, and it was just, and I was reacting to that, or maybe I just got a little closer to God, reading her story and the impact that it had on her, and why she felt that she came, why she came back. It's called Dying to Be Me, and it's very interesting. One of the reasons she said that she that she knew that she had to come back, that she had this option to come back, even into the sick body of hers, which was literally on. I said in my foreword, she wasn't just at death's doorstep; she was already into the parlor. I mean, she had gone through the doorway, through the doorstep, through the doorway, and she was there, and. And one of the reasons that she wanted was because she felt that she was to get this message out there about what our true essence is, who we really are, that this physical world that we're in is really just an illusion. That we've been in so many bodies, all of us, from the time we were little boys and girls up until this very moment. But that our true essence isn't these bodies at all, because they just keep disappearing and changing. But our true essence is changeless and birthless and deathless. And she really said if she could get that message out, if we could each and every one of us understand and trust in our own magnificence and trust in our own and love ourselves, like deeply, profoundly love ourselves, not as pieces of God, but as God himself, as representations of the divine energy, and really know that about ourselves. If we could do that, we could clean up our relationships, we could clean up our politics, and we could also clean up the terror and the war and the kinds of things that have just exemplified mankind for forever. If enough of us could just realize that we're God beings, that we're all beings of God, and that we're all connected to each other. And she had that direct, powerful experience of that and writes about it. So getting that message out, she felt was like just really her dharma, really what she had, one of the reasons that she had to come back, if not the most important reason. And then all of the circumstances that were set up for me to make contact with her, and now I'm putting her on my public television special in October, so she'll be giving that message all over the world. It was really quite a day, and just everything just looks brighter today, clearer, cleaner.
I'm really looking forward to reading that. It sounds so inspirational. Just her whole story is amazing.
Yes, it is. It's beyond amazing. It's because it defies virtually everything about. There have been many spontaneous healings, and when I say many, I mean they're rare, but there's still recorded records of people having spontaneous healings from cancer, from heart disease, from arthritis, from diabetes, and so on. But there's never been anyone who was that far gone. It was that real close to shutting down, and the body shutting down, to come back and have a complete and total recovery. She had lesions throughout her body from all of the different medications that she had to take, and all of the different things that they were doing to her body that were so bad that they said she would need plastic surgery to have them healed. One was on her neck, and one was on her side, and those healed all too, as without any kind of surgery whatsoever. So she had like a total body kind of healing. And I had a similar kind of thing when I had that John of God experience on April the 21st this year. And I've started to notice things that, that are changing in my body, but they're nothing as dramatic as what she had. And so spontaneous healing is something that we can just say, well, these are miracles that happen. But spontaneous healing from almost coming back from the dead is really pretty miraculous. And this is a woman who's got a very, very, very important message to talk to all of us. And the message is really about overcoming our fears, our fear of failing, our fear of death, our fear of disappointing other people, our fear that we're not good enough. These kinds of fears are just sort of placed into us when we're little children, and we grow up with living in all of these kinds of fears. And then we turn on the television, or we read newspapers, or you turn on the internet, and it's almost like it's a fear machine, isn't it? I mean, it's just, if it isn't the heat, and if it isn't the climate, and that's going to destroy us, or if it isn't the atomic weapons that we're accumulating, it's terrorists all over the planet, and so on, and we just walk around just almost imbibing these drinks of fear in our lives, and there's really nothing to fear. We're all God. We're all love. And learning that and practicing it is a very healing thing. Anyway, it was quite a day yesterday. I had set an intention yesterday morning at yoga class. When I went in, I went to an early morning yoga class, Bikram yoga, which I'm now doing six days a week. And I was told, a year ago, with this leukemia diagnosis, that I couldn't do Bikram yoga. I couldn't do yoga at all. my body wouldn't be able to handle it. And now I'm doing it 6 days a week and feeling stronger than ever. But I had an intention in yoga class yesterday that I was going to read this, because the book arrived Friday in manuscript form. And I said, I'm going to read the entire thing today. And my son was here, and he went off surfing, and I just closed the whole house down and just went totally into the book. And then when it was over, and I did this wonderful meditation, the I Am meditation, and after I finished the meditation, I just went into my office, actually into my bedroom, and just sat down, and this forward just poured out of me. And I'm going to call Anita a little bit later today and talk to her about a couple of things I think she needs to do to tweak the book, but also to read her the forward. And yeah, it's been an exciting time. It's something for all of us. It's something for all of us, because one of the fears that we all grow up with is this fear of death as being this potential for infinite nothingness, which is as scary as it gets. You know, I mean, it's not a million years or a billion years, but into infinity, that there is nothing, or that death represents, a place where we have to account for every mistake and every miscue and every sin that we've ever committed. And there's nobody out there who hasn't got a ton of those going on. And so there's another thing to be afraid of. And it's interesting, when I sent my mother, who's 95, a copy of Anita's near-death experience commentary that she had on the internet, which is where I first heard about it. My mother, who is accustomed to, she lives in an assisted living center with many people in their 90s. One of the ladies that she has breakfast with every morning is 102. So she gets to see death a lot. I mean, somebody will be there for a few months, and they'll go to sleep one night, and then they're just gone. And I sent her this, and she has just been so much at peace ever since she read Anita's experience of.
Wow, that's great. I mean, I think it's so important for people to remove that fear, because it's such a natural part of life, and we really don't have anything to fear, I don't think.
No, well, can you imagine what life would look like without death?
Right, this is just endless eternity going
yes,
on.
And be so many people here. It'd be
too much.
Anyway, yeah.
When can you rest?
All that Jesus said, all that materializes dematerializes. Everything that comes into the physical world, will dematerialize. But that which allows it to materialize and dematerialize is infinite, because it has no form, and so we don't have to worry about too much room for something that doesn't need any room at all.
Right. We can all fit
so
there.
So that was my day. And it was
that's a pretty incredible day.
Said, I'm looking out the window here right now, and I'm looking at these palm trees out here, and things just look a little different today. I almost feel like I didn't just read that book yesterday, but that I became it. It became a part of me.
Or experienced it in some way.
A little different. It wasn't just an intellectual exercise, just thinking about it, but it was a spiritual experience of experiencing it. Because I've always said that in order to understand something intellectually, you cogitate on it, you analyze it, you tear it apart, you come up with an analysis, you come up with a synthesis, you come up with a sort of a formula, and you come up with a belief system. But in order to understand something spiritually, you have to experience it. And the only way you can experience it is by putting it into your imagination and then beginning to feel it in your body. And to assume, I've often said, to assume the feeling of whatever it is you're doing as fulfilled, feeling it in your body. And I think that's what happened with that with me yesterday. So
thank you so much.
I look forward to all of you
Namaste
actually reading it. Namaste.
And I'd like to go to line 4 for the next one. I think this is an interesting call. And since your new program is about manifestation, we're going to go to Carol in Rochester, New York on line 4.
Yay!
And she has a question about that. Hi, Carol. Thanks for holding.
Hi. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. Good. I am so excited to talk to you.
Are you?
Really? Yes.
Oh, me too. It's right now it's between talking to you or staring at my vacuum cleaner. It looks like the most beautiful vacuum cleaner I've ever seen. It's shining. It almost like wants to talk to me, but I'll take you instead.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Well, I have to tell you, my sister in Seattle introduced me to you, and she sent me your books and your CDs and all this stuff, and I just kind of honestly tucked it away, and then something happened. I know, right?
My heart just went again. It's 174. All right, go ahead.
No, but so then I saw a really scary movie, and it freaked me out, like within really, really deeply. I wouldn't even let my husband go to sleep until 2 a.m. until I fell asleep. It was so scary. And then the thing that got me through it is somehow I found these books and CDs, and then that's all I've been doing for the past year is listening to the CDs and, reading your books and, going through everything. And it really has gotten me out of, this whatever was, in my head. It was really awesome. So now, then my sister sent me the shift, the speech. No, I saw that, but the speech that you did in Maui.
Oh, yeah, right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the 6 CD set on the shift. Yeah, right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I take that to work with me, and I listen to it because, work is so stressful. It's just a bad group of people. We don't mix that well. But so it kind of gets me through the day. And then, on this one section, you say a little bit of Neville. So now my sister and I, whenever we talk to each other, we're like, a little bit of Neville. And we've been, we read Neville and then we Skype and we talk about it. And her and her husband have really been manifesting. They own their own business, a sheet metal business in Washington. And they are such good people. And they finally figured out yesterday that they're going to close their doors. So, which is really sad because she's sad, and I don't want her to be sad because, I am excited for her. They need to do something else. They,
right.
He's 63 and she's not, but it's just I see good things for them, but it's really hard for her, and she can't figure out how she signed up for this, like how she, wanted this in her life. She wanted, a prosperous business, and I feel like I'm rambling, but, that she wanted it to go on, but they just have figured out that it can't because it would be too costly. So,
yeah, it's like there's a wonderful line that says, if you want to make God laugh, tell her your plans.
Yeah.
These changes that take place, businesses shutting down, moving from one place to the other, having a child when you weren't expecting it, I don't know, any number of things that these changes that just show up automatic. This is all. It's all part of the perfection of it. I don't know how to get this out there to everyone. Because I guess because I'm now 71, I'm beginning to look back in my own life, and I just did the introduction to my book, and I was talking about St. Francis, and St. Francis was like, I wasn't raised Catholic. I didn't know anything about saints. I didn't even know San Francisco was named after this guy. Okay, and he shows up in my life 25 years ago. Somebody hands me the prayer of St. Francis, framed beautifully. I hang it on the wall in the corridor by my 5 daughters' rooms. As I would walk by each of their rooms and I must have walked by this prayer hanging there for 25 years, 10,000 times if I walked by it once. All of a sudden, 10 years later, St. Francis comes into my life in another way. I go to Italy. I end up in Assisi. I have this miraculous experience with my wife in meditation, and so I go back to Assisi again. I have a miracle that takes place. St. Francis literally heals a knee that was supposed to be replaced from bone on bone, and now it's as healthy as my other, which I talk about in the movie. Then I go back there again just a month or so ago, and I'm lecturing there, and at the end of the lecture, something happens, and St. Francis literally feels like he enters my body. I freeze, I start sobbing, and so on. And now these are all things that have happened over 10-year, 15-year, 7-year periods, and so many other things as well. Now, at the age of 71, I look back and I realize that each and every one of those events was orchestrated in order to get me to this place where I could not just intellectualize about St. Francis and his message and how important that technology is, that you can become an alchemist, you can convert hatred into love, You can convert sadness into joy. You can convert darkness into light. That's what the prayer is. And I wrote a whole book based on that prayer that St. Francis told me to write called A Spiritual Solution to Every Problem. And I look back at all of that. Then I'm in a CC just a month ago, and I don't just talk about St. Francis. I become it. It becomes me. And a woman writes me a letter telling me that, that she saw me as St. Francis up there. I mean, her vision was, and she's,
wow.
And so when I say this about your sister, it's like these events, if you can get to a place where you can get back and get a big enough vision and look at all of these things that seem to be disparate, and how could this happen, and what about that, and all of that, they all are everything. This is a universe that is orchestrated by a divine intelligence. Everything. I mean, these planets all work together. The sun, comes up when it's supposed to. The moon shows up, and it's like the seasons come and the rains come, and so do all of the people who are supposed to be there, and all of the experiences to fulfill your dharma. If you just get out of the way, and just allow it, and to say, okay, so I'm closing down a business. Isn't this great? I wonder what the next step is. I wonder, and you can get to a place where you can not only influence the future, you can change the past. I mean, Anita talked about that in her book. I was like, she literally changed the numbers that were on her, that told her that she was going to die with her cancer. Change those things from the past. We can do all of that because there is no past, there is no future. It's all happening now. We can't get back far enough to realize that all of these things, these pieces of the puzzle that seem to be just so isolated from each other, that they're all taking place, all of it, right. Including this phone call that I'm having with you right now, Carol. Yeah. And the one thing that you said in this phone call that I want to say to you, and that's why you called, but it isn't about your sister, it's about you. It's that it is this. You are working with a bunch of bad people, and it is not a good energy place. I want you to change that. Those people are those people are God, just like you are. And go into wherever it is that you're working, and send love to every single one of them. Become that beacon of see. I think one of the problems that Christianity has in the world is that almost always the focus is on the crucifixion. It's on the suffering. It's on the things that are wrong. It's on the picture of a dead man nailed to a dead piece of wood with the thorns over his head and blood coming down his face and blood on his side and so on. And that becomes it becomes the image of Christianity. But the real image of Christianity isn't the crucifixion. It's the resurrection, that Jesus was a being of light who was just moving into a higher and higher, more peaceful, more beautiful place, transcending all of this stuff in the physical world, which is really just all an illusion. And that's what where we ought to be focusing, our image is on the resurrection, including your own resurrection, to being a being of light. Go ahead.
And when I go into work...
Sorry, that was a rant. That was a rant.
No, I try... When I drive in, I don't even listen to the radio. I just focus on, it's going to be a great day, and I'm not going to, a dirty look isn't going to get to me. And then the dirty look happens, and then I'm like, and then I'm not, where I try to think, I can love her, just one individual. I'm like, I can love her. And then I see her, and I'm like, I get scared of her,
but it's the dirty look that you want to love. You want to look at that dirty look and say, I am so glad that I don't have to give anybody any dirty looks. And isn't that beautiful that doesn't even affect me? And when she sees that it doesn't affect you and that you're just a being of light and you extend a piece of kindness, like that first dirty look that you have, take a couple of books or take some roses in with you and, take a dozen roses in with you tomorrow or the next day when you go to work. Literally, I'm serious. And every person who gives you a dirty look, give them a rose. Just say, you know what, this is such a beautiful flower. I just want you to have this today. Try that. Or a carnation if you don't want to get, and just, for every single person who does that, reward them with something beautiful. What is more beautiful than a flower?
Exactly.
you want to try to do something, try to make a flower from scratch, those are some incredible creations. Like, and then you know what? You're going to turn, that's what St. Francis says, where there is hatred, let me bring love. Where there is sadness, let me bring joy. He doesn't say, please bring me some, you're asking, please bring me some joy around these dreadful people. What St. Francis's prayer says, what this technology says, this alchemy says, is where there is hatred, let me bring love. And watch, I will convert hatred to love. And that's alchemy. That's like taking lead and turning it into gold,
Yeah.
And you can do that. You really can do that. And so can your sister. And so can everybody else out there that's watching. And then if enough of us do this, we're going to convert this whole planet. I'm telling you.
Yeah, you had said that in your lecture. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, the one in one of them. I have like 6 of your the live lectures, but yeah, you were talking about that. The more numbers, the more good feelings that are out there, the more
Right. A person who raises their consciousness to a level on the David Hawkins scale in Power versus Force. He talks about the Hawkins scale. Where it goes up to like Christ consciousness is 1,000, and like evil is 100. A person who's at 300 or 400 can compensate for several 100,000 people who are operating at lower levels. A person who's at 600 or 700, which is where Mother Teresa was, can compensate for several million people who are operating at lower levels. But he says, if one being on this planet, if just one being could operate at pure Christ consciousness, pure Siddhi consciousness, like just divine love, always, that's all I have to give away, it could compensate for all of the negativity, all of the shame, all of the hatred, all of the fear, all of the terrorism, just by that presence of that one being. That's how powerful our inner energy is and what we can do. And that's what your sister needs to do. But more important, I don't think you called in for your sister. I think this is about you, sweetheart. That one thing was that those dreadful people, those bad people, those were your words. You go back and listen to the tape.
I know.
Those were your words. Those bad people are God. You're calling those bad, and you go in there and love them. And I also say, imagine what they think of you, what they're saying about you.
I know.
Yeah. But take a dozen carnations or a dozen roses or a few books or anything, and just something that you can give, a crystal, anything, and just say, I just want you to have this, especially the one who gives you the really nastiest look. You just say, thank you, that's so wonderful, I want you to have this. And you know what, I like the way your hair looks today, and I really like what you're wearing today. Just send out love where you are, and you'll convert it. You will change you can change. I promise you, if I worked where you work, and you gave me one day, I could go in there and convert the energy of that entire place that you work by my consciousness. And you can too.
To find out more about Dr. Wayne Dyer or any other Hay House author, please visit hayhouse.com. Thank you for listening.